Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome again to a Friday night edition of Sunset Ministries. I want to just say we made it through another week by the grace of God. Well, I want to welcome everybody who is on the conference call live tonight. I want to welcome those of you who are listening to us again at Spreaker.com. We thank you so much. Well, again, listen, my brothers and sisters, it's Friday, and tonight as we continue with our series on marriage, tonight we're going to talk about the differences that men and women have and how to enjoy them. Now, from almost the day we are born, we begin to notice the difference between boys and girls and men and women. And I'm not talking about the physical difference so much as the different ways that we view life, that we react to circumstances around us, as well as the way we socialize, build friendships, and so on. There's no doubt that there is a big difference between men and women. Now, that difference can either frustrate us to no end, or it can be something that we learn to enjoy. Now, in 2000 or thereabouts, or around 2000, I believe it was 2000 when I did the search online, there was a published article by the Chicago Tribune titled, "Rules Guys Wish Girls Played By." And it talked about the rules that guys wish girls followed, and then it went on to give rules that girls wish the guys had followed. And the article provided a pretty big list, but for time's sake, I'm just going to give you 10 of each. So first, starting with the rules that guys wish girls would follow, it printed the following. Number one, it said, if you ask a question you don't really want an answer to, expect an answer you didn't want to hear. Number two, sometimes we're not thinking about you, live with it. Number three, when we have to go somewhere, absolutely anything you wear is fine, really. Number four, ask for what you want. Let's be clear on this one. Subtle hints don't work. Strong hints don't work. Really obvious hints don't work. Just simply say it. Number five, no, we don't know exactly what day it is. We never will. Mark anniversaries on a calendar. You know we check. Number six, we're not mind readers and we never will be. Our lack of mind-reading ability is not proof of how little we care about you. Number seven, come to us with a problem only if you want help solving it. That's what we do. Sympathy is what your girlfriends are for. Number eight, anything we said 6 months ago is inadmissible in an argument. All comments become null and void after 7 days. Number nine, if something we said can be interpreted two ways and one of the ways makes you sad or angry, then we meant the other one. And number 10, if we ask what's wrong and you say nothing, we will act like nothing's wrong. We know that you're not being honest, but it's just not worth the hassle. Then it's listed, I'm going to give you 10 rules that women wish that the guys would follow. Number one, don't ever lie to us. We always find out. Number two, if you're in a bad mood, we're going to assume it's our fault. So tell us what's bothering you. Number three, quit complaining about your boss. Find another job. Number four, pay attention. We like to give clues. Susie and Bob tried a new restaurant means why don't you ever take us anywhere nice? Number five, yes, it's true. Sometimes we like to call up and talk about nothing. Get used to it. Number six, if you ask us what's wrong and we say nothing, ask us again. And this time look sincere. Number seven, when we say something, it is necessary for you to respond. At the very minimum, nod your head. Number eight, if you only knew how much a tender word, a thoughtful act, an unexpected gift means to us, you would do it and your life would improve exponentially. Number nine, when no one's home, stand in front of a mirror and practice this until you can say it in public. I was wrong. Number 10, after you have mastered that, work on I'm sorry. So again, we can kind of chuckle at some of these things, but this was written as they asked men and women to give rules they wish the other would follow. Now, these rules, and I'm sure your reaction to them, reveal that we are all very aware of the differences that we have as both men and women. But what I want to share with you tonight is that those differences are not something negative, but rather something positive. So I want to share with you tonight 4 specific ways that I believe that we are different as men and women. And if we view our differences with the right attitude, we will begin to see these differences enhancing our marital experience rather than detracting from it. So the first way that I see that we are different as men and women is that we're different intentionally. What does that mean? Genesis 1:27 says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, he created male and female. He created them. So God created man and women absolutely different. It's a fact. God did it intentionally. He created them to be different, to have different responsibilities, different outcomes, different ways of thinking, and so forth. It's not by accident. It's not something that happened happenstance, right? It's something that God did intentionally. He did this purposely. And 1 Corinthians 11, verses 11 to 12 says the following. Nevertheless, neither is man independent of woman, nor woman independent of man in the Lord. For as woman came from man, even so man also comes through woman. But all things are from God. So what's interesting is that though God created man and women differently, intentionally, he's still saying here, in his word here, that there's still a unity that's necessary. They may be different, but they're more the same as well, because he said, right, they're not independent of each other. And a woman has come from man, and so is the man also come through the woman. So there's a commingling here. There's a uniqueness to them. There's a sameness to them, even though there are differences of opinion or differences of style. We are the same in so many ways as we are different. The second way that we are different is emotionally. Now, this is scientifically proven, right? Men, first of all, have different emotional needs than women. I'll be the first to say it. Men sometimes, listen, we can be kind of, please men, don't get offended, but I'm a man so I can say this, but we can be babies at times, you know. My wife says sometimes, you know, you're sick and you're acting like a baby, yet when I'm sick, I'm supposed to suck it up. It's true. I mean, sometimes we can be a little soft there. Men also need to feel needed, right? They need to feel that the woman can count on them. For some reason, it's this machismo, this pride issue. Men need to feel that, you know what, you can count on me, or you need me, or stuff like that. Men also need their alone time, right? But it's different than that alone time that women need, right? A man wants that alone time to either maybe watch some sports or play a video game or read the newspaper. A woman, her alone time, and again, please, I'm not saying this is for every woman, because I'm just saying it because I know I have a house full of women and I see some of the things they want to do. But for a woman, she wants that alone time to de-stress herself. You know, a good hot bath, a good book, a nice TV show. They use that time to de-stress themselves, where men just, you know, we want to, you know, see the sports and stuff like that. Again, men sometimes, or not sometimes, quite often hide their emotions. They're not in tune with their emotions, or they're not as sensitive to them, or they don't like displaying them as much as women do, right? The world tells men at a young age, listen, you can't let people see you cry. You can't let people see you being weak. When a young boy cries, often the father will say, stop crying. Get tough, and all things like that. Where on a different side, for women, the world seems to be more acceptable. A woman is more in touch with her emotions, not afraid as often to display them. Again, I'm not saying this is for all women or all men in general, but that seems to be the gist of it. They're not afraid to show those emotions. And that's some of the reasons that some of the women feel more vulnerable because of that issue. So those are the first two things. Again, we're different intentionally and we're different emotionally. The next way that we're different is relationally. Men and women differ relationally as well in varying degrees. And here are some interesting facts, and I'm sure many of you know these already. Men have a much more difficult time relating to their own feelings, as I just said. And they may feel very threatened by the expression of feelings in their presence, right? How many men, listen, get real uncomfortable when a woman starts to express their feelings, right? Whether it be sadness or anger or whatever it may be, they feel uncomfortable or threatened. And this causes them to react by withdrawing or to the other extreme, attempting to control the situation through a display of control and power. Men are actually more vulnerable and dependent on relationships than women are, and are more devastated by the ending of a relationship. since for the most part they have fewer friends and fewer sources of emotional support. Now, again, I'm just giving you facts that are based on, a majority. This is not for every man and every woman, because there are some women who are different, right? And some men who are different. So again, there are women who are not as vulnerable with their feelings, and men in the same way. Men are more at ease with their own angry feelings than women are. And that's the truth, right? How many men are easy to get angry? And they're okay. They feel empowered by it. They're comfortable in that mess. Where women are in touch with a much wider range of feelings than men. And the intensity of those feelings is usually much greater for women than men. And as a result of this, many men perceive that women's feelings appear to change quickly. And men may find this irrational and difficult to understand. That's why what's that saying? I'm probably saying it wrong. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or something like that. Because we're emotionally different. That's a reality. Listen, it's by design. It's by design. In the design by God, the man was the provider. And please understand when I say this, not that women can't provide. Because listen, here's the reality. Women are providers today in great many numbers. I don't ever put a woman lower than me. Because there are some women that are some great providers and just awesome mothers and awesome, they play the father role too. Though it shouldn't be that way, because a child should have both a mother and a father. But in the grand scheme of things, a man was the provider. He had to go out and hunt and kill and stuff like that, where the woman had to be more emotionally, more free with their emotions, because she was the child rearer, the one who took care of the children at home. And, it would be difficult for a child to have this rough, rugged, non-sensitive person raising them. We'd have nothing but psychopaths growing up, right? Because children need emotional love. They need that closeness. Now, again, this is not to say that men can't show this. I'm just saying in the overall grand scheme of things, how they were designed. But here's a biblical passage that tells married men and women how they should relate to one another. Ephesians 5:21 and 26 says, "Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is head of the wife, as also Christ is head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word." So husbands and wives are supposed to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Notice what I said. We have to submit to one another. Quite often, men get this verse twisted. They feel, hey, listen, honey, you heard the word of God says, you submit to me. No, stop. We got to stop twisting that. We submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. I love my wife just as Christ loved the church. Listen, there are times I submit to my wife simply because my wife has answers that I do not. That's why our marriage has worked out over these last 21 plus years. Because I have realized and come to learn that, listen, women are able to do things that I cannot. They are able to solve some problems that I cannot. My wife has done things that I was unable to do. And that's not how I always was. Listen, this just goes to show you the power of God. Again, I have not fully shared my testimony, but I grew up abused. Listen, I love my mother today tremendously, but there were mistakes that were made, and I was physically abused as a child. I hated women. I can say that honestly. I looked at every woman like my mom that tried to hurt me, deceptive, whatever it could be. And I had anger issues for women, but only God was able to change that. And that's why a guy would say God has a sense of humor. That is why I could be living in a household full of women. Right? A wife, 2 girls, and even the dog is a female. I'm surrounded by women. There's no escaping that. But I'm able to submit to my wife as to Christ, because God has picked the perfect partner for me. If I wasn't a God-fearing man, there is no way my house would be stable in the way that it is. There is no way I would be able to submit to my wife. I would try to dominate my wife. I would try to dominate my girls. I would belittle them. But today I encourage my children. I encourage my girls and let them know there's nothing impossible. I let them know they don't have to stand behind anyone. They can be whoever they want today. That's because God has changed me. God can change the most hardened of hearts. So again, we're to submit to one another out of reverence to Christ. Wives are to submit to their husbands as they do to the Lord. Husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. That is biblical instruction. The fourth and final way for tonight that we're different is strategically. Again, women are different here in so many ways from men. Women are opportunity experts. Women see opportunity in everything, in everyone, their neighbors, friends, family, business associates. Women have the ability to see opportunity and give their ideas life, and they inspire others to do the same. Women, when given the opportunity to be themselves, are natural leaders. That's real. Listen, we see the stats out there. I see it in my job. I see it in the business world. My wife is a woman that has broken through in the areas where it has been at one time dominated by men. My wife tells me, she comes home. She just recently got a promotion to executive manager. She's a vice president now for health and hospitals. And she has told me that there are a lot of men, but she's breaking through that. They become natural leaders when you allow them, when you unloose them and allow them to be themselves unhindered. Women are also networking professionals. Women are masters of navigating and putting their ideas to the test. It is their gift. And they're able to network better than men. They're able to follow up. They make sure that their ideas that they have are on fertile soil, that these ideals sprout up. And they're inherently creative. They're able to discover opportunities that most men miss. Women are also natural givers. Women seek to give to others, but also to their communities. Why do you think most nonprofits are run by women? That's a fact. Women enjoy living their lives through a cause that serves the advancement and acceleration of society needs. Things that have a cause. And this is why in the workplace, women are great at inspiring and lifting those around them. Listen, I'm not telling you something that's new. Look at the churches today. Women are when you look at most churches, women ministries are flourishing. I hate to say it, and I've said it before, to the shame of men, women do sometimes in churches more of the work than men. And how's that's supposed to be when we're called to be the pillars of the church? I'm not telling you something, I'm not making this up. It is real. To our shame, man, and I'm one of them. I'm not trying to take myself out of the equation. Women are doing great things. This is why most women leaders are excellent at long-term strategies. They're strategic. Women are socially conscious, and they cultivate innovation and new ideas. And it's no wonder, listen, again, you can look up yourself, the fastest growing sector of small business owners in America are women. So my brothers and sisters, as we come to a close tonight, and we close out our week, there's no doubt that men and women are so different in so many ways. It's obvious. But despite these differences, when a man and a woman submit their lives to God, they are able to overcome these differences. As a matter of fact, with these differences in the hands of God, these differences become strengths that God can use in the plan that He has for you and your spouse. But as I said just before, a couple of seconds ago, it only works when we submit our lives to God. The differences that me and my wife had would never have worked. I said it just a few minutes ago. I never would have been able to submit to my wife. I never would have been able to overcome those differences if I did not submit myself to God. Submit our marriage to God. You see your marriage floundering? You see so many differences between you and your husband or you and your wife that there seems to be a great chasm of difference there? Then it's time to submit yourselves to God fully. Sometimes we say we submit ourselves to God, but we really don't do it fully. We hold things back. I guarantee you, my brothers and sisters, not because what I'm reading in a book, because I've experienced it myself. That's why I was able to stay married to my wife these more than 21 years, because we've submitted our marriage to God. God will assist you in overcoming these differences. God will unite you, and God will use those differences as strengths in His hand for His plan that He has for you as we come to a close tonight in prayer.